No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You've got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Good morning, Bronco Nation. Happy Thursday to you here, a Jackson's Thursday at Bronco Nation News and BroncoNationNews.com. Make sure you hit up to Jackson's and buy those 2 Coca-Cola products. Get that $8 coupon, $8 discount at Roaring Springs, and you can save up to $32 when you do that 4 times at Roaring Springs. So if you're heading out to Roaring Springs, which I saw, Johnny, they already closed for the weekend coming up due to expected inclement weather, but when they reopen on Monday, you can get $8 off and save $32 at Roaring Springs by purchasing 2 Coca-Cola products from our friends at Jackson's and Extra Mile. So today's Thursday, and yes, the headline says Jeramiah Dickey will be joining to take your questions. He will a little bit later in the show, but first, as always on a Thursday, you get the great Johnny Ballgame, Johnny Mallory, host of KTIK 95.3 The Ticket. Johnny will join us for about 30 minutes or so. We're going to talk toughest games on the schedule, some big picture stuff here. Phil Steele has come out with his all-conference teams, his all-American teams, so got some stuff to get to. But, Johnny, happy Thursday to you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, BJ. It's going to be a fun one. Looks like it's gorgeous outside, going to be super warm today. And talk about this Boise State schedule. Glad that you got JD on. Should be a fun episode today, and looking forward to it. And schedule, tough games. Been thinking about this one, man.
Yes, and we will get to that shortly. If you do have your thoughts on Boise State's schedule, you can get that. JB to start it, not Justin Bieber, Johnny Ballgame. So, yeah, Johnny Ballgame in the house here. Thanks, Blake. Alexander saying good morning. Our man Nathan Carroll does have a post up on his he wrote the story, and he has a little post up on his Twitter account. The Notre Dame game obviously is the marquee game on the schedule, but what's the next game after the Notre Dame game that scares you the most? You can go to Nathan's Twitter account and get that vote in now. We'll get to that a little later in the show. But, Johnny, I actually wanted to start with some news that I just saw come out this morning. Phil Steele has come out with his Mountain West rankings. And as you know, Johnny, I mean, this is the premier college football preview. He talks to these coaches. You know, when Phil Steele has something, it's, you know, you give it a little more credibility than maybe the Athlons of the world for some of these preseason magazines. And Boise State, Johnny, 7 first-team offensive players on Phil Steele's list. Phil Steele has 7 first-team players for Boise State. Maddox Madsen, first-team quarterback. Sire Gaines, first-team running back. Latrell Caples, first-team wide receiver. Matt Lauder, first-team tight end. Mason Randolph, first-team center. Roger Carrion, first-team guard. And Cage Casey, first-team tackle. 3 first-team offensive linemen, a first-team quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. Just your thoughts on the offense. 7 first-team players from Phil Steele.
My thoughts are that UNLV fan doesn't like this, right? They think they're being screwed over again, probably. Kidding aside, I mean, part of that is, yeah, they have a lot of returners at key positions where not a lot of other teams have key returners at. And then it's just the world of the unknown. Does Phil Steele really want to go look at the Conference USA numbers to go see what a new player on whatever school did last year and forecast what he thinks they'll do this year? It's really hard. Like, I don't know if you're still doing your deal, speaking of Phil Steele, with Lindy's. Like, are you going to do the Lindy's College Basketball Magazine this year? You got to call
yesterday. Yep.
You got to call New Mexico and you got to say, hey, coach, you got a whole new roster, entirely new. Yep. Let's dive in. What do you like? I mean, the landscape. That's the bummer for me, is like it's a lot more difficult to predict this stuff because you just don't know as much.
Well,
who's coming back?
I just don't, even in the heyday, I'll have to go back and look, but even the Kellen Moore era, Johnny, were they getting 7 first-team offensive play? I mean, to have 7 of the – I mean, there's 1 New Mexico running back. There is a Hawaii wide receiver, a Fresno wide receiver, a Wyoming center, and a San Jose State tackle. So you're talking 5 players that are not first team from Boise State. 7 of the 12 first team offensive players. I mean, and we think this offense is going to be good, but they've had some offenses in the past, Johnny, which were just scoring 45 points a game, leading the nation in scoring, throwing it all over the place, running it all over the place. Like, I don't know if we compare up this offense right now to some of the legendary Boise State offenses in the past, and to have 7 of the 12 first-team offensive players just seems pretty crazy to me.
For me, it's just more of an indication of the league than it is Boise State having this, whoa, this might be an all-time talent on a roster, and maybe it will be. But for me, this just speaks back to those guys looking around at every other team, trying to forecast depth charts, and these head coaches telling Phil Steele, I don't know my depth chart. We got to practice. I don't know who left in the portal yesterday. Like, I wish I could tell you. We got 3 guys back. I mean, a lot of teams, that's all they have. And everybody else that they wanted to stay left. So that, for me, it just sets up for Boise State, though. I mean, they're going to be picked to win this thing again. I wonder how many media members will go with UNLV as well. I mean, when you look at the tally of who's going to get the first place votes at Mountain West Media Days in a month, how many does Boise State get versus UNLV?
Last year in the conference for Boise State, I'm sure there'll be some people that vote for UNLV just because it's a really weird thing where even some media members, aren't fans of Boise State and Boise State media. I don't get it, Johnny, but you're right. There'll probably be a couple, probably be somebody, but I would suspect Boise State would get the lion's share of the vote. Okay, so 7 offensive players, though, Johnny. How about 5 first-team defensive players? 5 first-team defensive players for Boise State. Where are you going? Who are your 5 here?
Yeah, I mean, to guess, that Buck Benefield should be there. Amarion McCoy should be there. Marco Notriani should be there. JVM should be there. And who else am I forgetting? Zion, Irby, Braxton Feely. Okay.
5 first-team offensive or 7 first-team offensive players, 5 first-team defensive players. Braxton Feely at tackle, Jaden Virgin Morgan at defensive end, Marco Notriani at linebacker, Amarion McCoy at corner, and Ty Benefield at safety. And then also congrats to long snapper Mason Hudson. He's a first-team all Mountain West from Phil Steele long snapper. That gives Boise State 13 first-team all Mountain West players.
Did Phil Steele say Mason Hudson, or did BJ Rains say Mason Hudson? It's Mason Hutton, right?
Mason Hutton. That's what I said.
Okay, I thought you said Hudson. My bad.
Mason
Okay, yeah, Mason Hutton. He's probably the only long snapper coming back in the league. I'm kidding, but Boise State, so fortunately, BJ, like they just don't have all these constant major problems that teams in their conference or level have. Boise State doesn't, and they're able to dodge these bullets, and it should pay off this year with an experienced team. Hopefully that experience shows week 1.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's a lot of players for me. I mean, that is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Half the starters.
13 first-team players, and then you even go to second team. They've got Hall Schmidt, second-team tackle. He's got, where else does he have? Dylan Riley, third-team kick returner. How about Oscar Doyle comes in, newcomer from Weber State, third-team punter for Boise State. Jeremiah Irby, third-team corner. You've got Chris Marshall, third-team wide receiver. What are your thoughts?
Nice, man. Yeah. What do you have, 3 catches last year?
Third-team wide receiver, Chris Marshall. I mean, you must have heard something from Spencer Danielson he liked to hear.
Hope so. Yeah, that'd be nice to see Chris Marshall out there playing and having a successful season. This offense needs him. This receiving room is begging for someone to come in and play at a Eric McAllister, Cam Camper level. That's all I'm asking for receiver 1. Give them a Camper / McAllister year, and I think you're good to go. The question is what receiver is going to be that guy? And hopefully it'll be Chris Marshall or anybody. But, I saw, what is it, the comment? Some guy says Chris Marshall will either have 70 catches or 7. Like, he ain't going to have 70. I mean, I don't know how that would happen, even if he's playing well. Yeah. I don't think he has a 70 catch season. They'll run the ball too damn much. But 37, 44, 52 would be amazing for Chris Marshall.
So Boise State well represented on the Phil Steele list, and Cage Casey, I believe, was 4th-team All-American as well. Those came out yesterday. So some sad news to report. Johnny Ron Collins, a defensive senior analyst on the football coaching staff, passed away early Tuesday morning. He was 61 years old. I know quietly he had been away from the team for a long time. I talked to Spencer Danielson about it a month or two ago. He was battling some private health issues for a while, and it wasn't looking good. And unfortunately, Ron Collins has passed away at the age of 61. He was a veteran defensive coach, 38 years in the coaching profession. Johnny spent 8 seasons at Boise State throughout his career. He came back there in 2022 as a senior analyst, actually was elevated to an assistant coach when Spencer Danielson took over midway through the season. And then the last year plus, he's been a defensive senior analyst and had been away from the team for most of the 2024 season while battling his illness. He was here under Dan Hawkins from 2001 to 2005 and had that defense as defensive coordinator in the top 10 in several categories: interceptions, turnovers, rushing defense. He was the linebackers coach in 2001, moved up to defensive coordinator in 2002. And during that run, Boise State went 53-11 and won 4 straight WAC championships, was ranked nationally 3 different times. Went to Colorado with Dan Hawkins in 2006, was there from 2006 to 2011, moved on to some other spots before coming back, as we talked about. I know, Kent Riddle was very close to Ron Collins, so I'm thinking of Kent and a lot of, other folks around the Boise State football family today. Ron Collins, Johnny, one of those guys that always was, said hi to you in the building when you walked by and was always a fun guy to talk to there at practice and things like that. I saw him at the James a couple of times with Coach Ridd. Like I said, I know they were pretty close, so I'm feeling for everybody in the Boise State football community and family today on the unfortunate passing of Ron Collins.
The pride of Wenatchee, Washington. Rest in peace, Ron Collins, his wife Sharon, daughters Taylor Ray and Alexandra. Think about this when Ron Collins was Hawks DC from 01 to 05. Think about that. 01 is the game where they beat Fresno, I believe, the David Carr season. And then 05 would have been Hawks last year. Dan Hawkins was the head coach. Ron Collins was the defensive coordinator, and Chris Peterson was the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
That was the brain trust. And those coaches, let's be honest, guys. I watched those teams like a lot of people did. They didn't have NFL kids like they do now. They were still in the process of growing players. When Darren College was an NFL prospect, that was a really big deal here in this community, having Darren College go to the pros. Like, hell, when Chris Carr made the roster of the Raiders, that was a really big deal here. He was a terrific return guy. And I know Coach Collins, had some say in the special teams units, and certainly what guys like Chris Carr did on defense. A lot of really good players, a lot of really good games, a lot of big moments happened because of guys like Ron Collins, really good coaches who were here at the right time together, and they did a lot of work. You mentioned 53-11 Boise State was when Ron Collins was its defensive coordinator, and like you said, he was always busy. When I saw Coach Collins around there, he wasn't stopping to chat. He was working, he was getting ready, he was in the lab, and that's a tough loss. I just read this press release, BJ, seriously, like right when we logged on for BNN Live today, it hit. They sent it at 9:01. So this is a rough day down there at the Blameyer, losing Coach Collins. 61, and that's just too young, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I know that he was a resource for Spencer Danielson for sure, being a defensive guy, and Eric Chenander and the whole defensive staff. And so, I know that everybody on the current team, the current coaching staff, but also the former Dan Hawken era players and coaches are all hurting today. So thoughts and prayers, and certainly our thoughts and prayers just go out to Ron Collins, his family, and anyone that knew him, everyone in the Boise State football family. And that's certainly a tough loss today. Ron Collins on Tuesday, passing away at the age of 61. We're going to continue our series, Johnny, on the 25 kind of topics, questions with the Boise State football team, getting everybody ready for fall camp. And today we are talking about the hardest games on the schedule. What games scare you the most? I think we all agree the Notre Dame game is number one, but behind the Notre Dame game, where could Boise State possibly trip up? What are the concerning games for Johnny? What are the concerning games for the fans? And we will get to that here in just a couple of minutes. But I do want to thank a couple of our great sponsors, including Ridley's Family Markets. ShopRidleys.com. If you're looking to just go in and have that hometown grocery store feel, Ridley's Family Markets, ShopRidleys.com. Download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. Ridley's Family Markets. Love that Cuno location, Middleton, Star. They got them all over the Treasure Valley, Magic Valley. Find a location near you at ShopRidleys.com. Hey, transportation compliance service, transcompservice.com. You can get into the trucking industry. Transportation compliance service has all the paperwork, DOT, overweight, everything you need to do to get out there towing that first load in no time. Transportation compliance service, local company helping out folks all over the world get into the trucking industry. And you can get more information, sign up today at transcompservice.com. Hey, speakpipe.com/BNN. You can leave us a voicemail, something you liked on the show, something you didn't like, a thought, whatever you got, leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/BNN. We'll play it on an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades, online at mysignatureroofing.com. Whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, an inspection, they got you covered at mysignatureroofing.com. Hey, Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com, the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family. We appreciate Taco Bell for their support of Bronco Nation News. The food is tremendous. You can feed your family for like $5 a kid. My kids love the cheesy roll-ups and the slushy. They got all the great Nachos Belgrande, all the Cantina Bowls, the Lux Cravings boxes, but they are hiring as well. If you're looking for a job, it's a great opportunity. You get free food while you work, half the wages the next day after your shift, some great promotional opportunities. Get more information on the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, and applying for a job online at TacoBellWorks.com. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Idaho Central Credit Union. You can do it online at ICCU.com. The Raines family made the switch. So happy we did. And you can get more information online at Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. All right, Johnny, we're talking toughest games on the schedule. Nathan Carroll has the article up at Bronco Nation News and BroncoNationNews.com. Interesting schedule, Johnny. Obviously, the Notre Dame game is going to get the headline. You've got the trip to South Florida to start it off. You've got the trip to Air Force early in the season. Obviously, going to Reno. There's some interesting games on the schedule here. A couple of the tougher games are at home this year. So before we kind of dive into this, just big picture, your thoughts on the schedule this year.
I would be very surprised. I think this fan base will be very disappointed if this isn't a double-digit win team in the regular season. That's 10-2, 11-1, or 12-0. I think that's on the table with this schedule. This schedule doesn't outside of Notre Dame, and you'll take the loss at Notre Dame just for the opportunity for a win. And I'm not even canceling that game out. Northern Illinois went into South Bend and won last year. It can happen. And Boise State's played in some big venues in some big moments. I don't think they're going to be maybe as affected by whatever environment South Bend will bring to the table. So I look at this schedule. It doesn't scare me. There's not a lot of landmines. There's not a lot of trap games. I think it sets up very, very well for Boise State to have another double-digit 10-plus win season on its resume, and hopefully, sit there and root for the other group of 6 schools to have 2-3 losses or lose their conference championship game or put Boise State in another position to get to this tournament. And I think they are in a good position to do that.
By the way, in about 10 minutes, Jeramiah Dickey is going to join us. If you've joined us late, the athletic director at Boise State, Jeramiah Dickey, will take your questions in the ICCU YouTube chat coming up in about 10 minutes. And I know, Johnny, you always enjoy having him on KTIK as well, and he's pretty open, and there's a lot going on right now in college athletics. So that's coming up in about 10 minutes. Boise State athletic director Jeramiah Dickey live here on Bronco Nation News. Your friend AP saying, I remember when we didn't accept any losses. Good times. So,
I mean, that was the most fortunate era, like seriously, like any fan base has ever got to live in, and bless your heart. But all you yahoos never thought that was going to leave. I remember people talking about Nick Patty being able to win 52 games and break Kellen's record. I mean, that's what you guys were saying. Nick Patty, remember the next Kellen, and losses just weren't a part of the deal for the Boise State fan. And they just are. I mean, you're just not going to go 50-3 in a 4-year stretch ever again. That was magic and appreciated. But yeah, I mean, there was a time, yes, where this fan base, where if you would have said, hey, I'll give you 10-2 right now, Boise State fan would laugh at you. Say, hell no, I'm not taking 10-2. It needs to be 12-0. And if it's a disaster, 11-1. And that's how this fan base was kind of formed in the early 2000s when all they did was win. And here they go right now. And the last decade hasn't been as joyous in the wins for them, but they're back right now. And 10-2. I think that's looking like a year that probably gets you into the tournament. If you're a G6 team, obviously it would be 11-2 because you got to win your Mountain West championship.
Now in Nathan's poll here that he put up yesterday, he's got 473 votes. Aside from Notre Dame, Johnny, what game concerns you most on the schedule? Over half the votes, 51.8%. The winner is at South Florida in the first game of the season. I've seen a couple people in the chat, say that as well. Just the unknown with Genty is what It's Keaton saying. Because of the unknown, the potential without Genty. First game, long road trip. Holding my breath on the -10 betting line. BSU Bill, South Florida, by far the scariest. If you win, you're going 4-0 to Notre Dame. You lose, puts us behind the 8 ball right out of the gate, and fans will start to panic. Your thoughts on the South Florida opener, Johnny?
I would agree with the fans, or Nathan in this case, if he wrote that article and that's where he was going to. For me, it's South Florida too. And it's not just because of their roster, probably the quarterback. The Barnum kid looks pretty good. He's been a starter there before. I think it's Bryce. Is it Brown? Bryce. Anyway, their quarterback. I forgot his name. We've been talking about him a little bit on IST after spring ball. He was coming back from an injury. But it's the climate, it's the travel, it's the possibility of a weather or a hurricane. To me, there's just other factors that go into having to play in Tampa week 1 in late August. And the bummer about that, if you do slip up and lose that game, you probably don't get to be ranked until November. I mean, unless you beat Notre Dame. And then you don't, and then you got that one loss, and you're playing. That's the problem. You're just playing catch up all year, and Boise State fan knows this because there was like a 4-year stretch where they were 0-1 every dang year, and it just helps. Just that mindset of being 1-0. And USF. I mean, I think Willie Taggart won 10 games there. I think Charlie Strong won 10 games there. You can win there if you get it going. The Alex Golesh guy, their coach right now, back-to-back 7-6 seasons. Is that ready to pop? Or is it going to go back down to the program that was in disarray before he showed up? They had a 1-11, a 2-10, and a 1-8 during COVID. USF did the 3 years before Coach Golesh got there. So they haven't been winning per se lately. They've done it a little in the past, but it's kind of the outside factors for me, BJ, and I'm sorry. I mean, App State doesn't pump my nads, BJ. No else team on the schedule really does here. USF for a trap game or week 1, the unknown. I would say that if this was my team, if I get 1-0 over USF with the chance to open up the season at home against Eastern, hey, we're off and rolling, I would say.
Austin Bronco Benjamin saying, besides Notre Dame, Boise State at Nevada, Boise State at Air Force are concerning. Team just can't go in and run through the motions in these 2 games. I mean, the way it worked out, Johnny, you get UNLV at home, you get Fresno at home. A lot of your tougher league games are at home this year. You do go to San Diego State, who I think is going to be better. We've talked about them, but I don't think they're ready to really contend this year for the conference title. Air Force is always a tricky game. It's early in the season, at least, hopefully before you get too, banged up or anything injury-wise, and that's early enough in the season, Johnny. I think their 3rd game that they can spend some time during fall camp and stuff like that as well, throwing in some of the triple option stuff probably. Air Force always, and especially on the road, that's never a game, I don't think, Johnny, regardless of what Air Force team you're playing, that you go in just feeling great about that game. But, and at Air Force, it is what it is. And then I would say at Nevada, I mean, talent-wise, sure. We know Nevada's not where they need to be talent-wise to compete yet with Boise State. But we know Jeff Choate is going to have that team ready to go. And we know that going to Reno in late October, crazy things have happened down in Reno. So I would say both those games would be, games, I guess, to keep an eye on, certainly. The UNLV home game, though, came up second place on Nathan's poll here on Twitter. 32.6% said UNLV at home. I don't get too worried for Boise State for home games, Johnny. I mean, you pretty much know at home. You feel pretty good about them, and you would say the tougher games would probably be on the road. I know UNLV is obviously coming back after losing 2 straight championships. New coach. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be fired up for that one, but at home, I know it's their last time potentially playing them for a while. I'm sure UNLV will be fired up, but I would take my chances with Boise State at home again in pretty much all these home games.
Yeah, I'm not drinking the Dan Mullen Kool-Aid as much as obviously the UNLV fan base. I happen to think that Barry Odom would probably do a better job with this team this year than Dan Mullen. And people might be like, whoa, how can you say that? Dan Mullen coached Mississippi State in Florida. He got fired at Florida. He went 5-6. He couldn't win at Florida. And there's only a couple of people, I don't know, in the last, 70 years that haven't been able to win at Florida. He was one of them. And it's just like this magic snap of the fingers. Dan Mullen's going to show up with $3 million, and all of a sudden it's going to be this SEC factory of football in Las Vegas. I'm not buying it. Dan Mullen's a fine coach, and he might be the best coach in this league. I got to wait and see that with a roster of new players that he doesn't know. I would think there's going to be, come on, and this is fair, I think, some type of transition 1 year for Dan Mullen. You know, he was out of the game for a year. These are new opponents, new geography. Like, I'm not just going to pencil in Dan Mullen hitting the ground running with UNLV and they're going to win 10 plus games and be this massive threat to Boise State. I got to see it. Fresno too. Coach Entz, I guess I like the hire. They hired one of those North Dakota State coaches that has all those rings from winning all those FCS natties. I think that'll work. I like that hire there. That's okay too. But I don't know the future of Fresno football. They've had so much turnover in the last 5 years for a school like Fresno. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but is figuring it out 8-5, 7-6, or is it 9-3, 8-4, 10-2? I think it's probably the former. And we're going to have to sort all this stuff out. But Boise State, again, this schedule, I would throw App State after USF for me. Air Force isn't scaring me this year with this team, BJ. Neither is Fresno. I would go for the unknown. And I said there's no trap game. Maybe App State could be somewhat of a trap game because it's the game before.
I don't think so. No.
It's the game before Notre Dame. That's the only way I would think. Maybe you're juiced about Notre Dame. Maybe that gets in the way. But for me, the three games are they're the non-cons. USF, Notre Dame, App State, just because those are the unknown. If you get through those, BJ, I really do think 11-1 is that is on the table. And I don't say that too much. Like just say, oh, they'll be 11-1, 12-0. But with this thing, unless they have massive injuries come their way or serious other disasters that we're not factoring in, this is going to be a 10-11 win football team, in my opinion. And I'm not even canceling out that they will lose at Notre Dame. I think if they're healthy, they can beat Notre Dame.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's a very manageable schedule to get back to the playoff, and should be exciting. Johnny, appreciate you as always for jumping on, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you soon, buddy.
My pleasure. Say hi to Jeremiah for me.
That's right. Coming up here in just a matter of seconds, we're going to get to our special guest, athletic director Jeramiah Dickey at Boise State. But first, I want to thank RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, our title sponsor here at Bronco Nation News. Hey, all your concrete coatings, your back patio, your garage, your basement, interior, exterior paintings, hit up our title sponsor. That's Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and Game, thespateam.com. They got locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. They've been around since 1978. If you're looking for a sauna, a spa, maybe a pool table for the game room, check out Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and Game at thespateam.com. Hey, Jackson's and Extra Mile want to remind you, if you want to head out to Roaring Springs, you can save up to $8 per ticket, $32 on 4 tickets when you buy 2 Coca-Cola products at Jackson's or Extra Mile. That's right. Just go into Jackson's or Extra Mile, buy 2 Coca-Cola products and you get a voucher for $8 off, and you can use that 4 times at Roaring Springs to save up to $32 on tickets at Roaring Springs. Hey, the Blue and Orange store, now the official in-venue provider of Boise State merchandise. They'll have their store there at the Hall of Fame, at Albertson Stadium, Extra Mile Arena, and of course, there at the Boise Town Square Mall, 2nd floor next to Pro Image. Check out the Blue and Orange store. That clearance rack is the best value in town, whether it's coaches' sideline apparel, all your jerseys, bumper stickers, car flags. They got you covered at the Blue and Orange store. Hey, Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Rain's family found that out firsthand when we helped, bought and sold our home with the help of Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate last summer. So hit up Matt Bauscher, BauscherRealEstate.com. I know everybody's got 5 friends that are realtors in this town, but you will not be disappointed. Do it today. Matt Bauscher is part of the Boise State home team at BauscherRealEstate.com. And shout out Julian Bowie getting that NIL deal with Lithia Ford of Boise. Jim Sturk and company stepping up yet again. Their pre-owned Pride sale going on right now. All their used vehicles, you can have that comfort that they're if you buy a used vehicle from Lithia Ford of Boise, it's going to be inspected, dissected, and corrected to make sure you don't have any issues when you purchase a pre-owned vehicle from Lithia Ford of Boise. That's what the Rains family did. We purchased a used F-150 from Jim Sturk and company at Lithia Ford of Boise. Couldn't be happier with that. And I'm telling you, there's not a bigger supporter out there. There's a couple that might be close or tied, but not a bigger supporter of Boise State athletics than Jim Sturk and company over there at Lithia Ford of Boise. And you can check them out online at lithiafordboise.com. All right, we go to our next special guest. We appreciate him giving us time today. The athletic director at Boise State is Jeramiah Dickey. And Jeremiah, I was having a little fun. I thought it was pretty obvious that I was being facetious last night when I kind of hit on the topics you were going to talk about today. But there were some folks really expecting some big news today. So I apologize to them. And I know there's a lot you can't say, but I thought I hit all the hits there with the topics. But appreciate you jumping on. How we doing?
I'm doing well. Hey, your job is to drive people to watch. So if that got him here, I'm grateful. Hey, tell Johnny it's 1-0. I got to listen to the last part of that, and man, what an awesome schedule, and really grateful for how season tickets are going, and Bronco Nation stepping up as usual, which is a point of pride for us. And but I'm pumped for this season. But that bullseye is that much bigger. And it's going to be exciting. I know our guys are pumped.
Yeah, we're doing our 25 kind of topics or questions leading into Mountain West Media Days, leading into fall camp with the team. And today was the hardest games on the schedule. And I know, you guys don't want to hear anything past South Florida, but and I think we talked about this last time we had you on, kind of a weird early season game. I mean, the Thursday adds a little bit to it. I know the start time's kind of a weird start time, nationally, so they can have the doubleheader. But you guys have traditionally done this, whether it be Georgia Southern last year, you had the Florida State game, you played UCF down in Orlando, you've had the Troy, Louisiana Lafayette's of the world. I mean, I would say in my 13 years here, there's been 5 or 6 or 7 of these first games. And I guess if you're going to go that far, make it the first game so you can back up fall camp and have the normal schedule. But I know Florida's not a huge recruiting hotbed for you guys, and I don't even remember when this game was scheduled, if that was your doing or not. But what's the reason behind so many games in the Southeast? I guess kind of these season openers becoming kind of a yearly thing.
Yeah, I believe we inherited that, BJ. I'd have to go back and look. I know I've been here 4 years. It feels like 30. So, but regardless, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And, and we have a very specific scheduling philosophy. And obviously that's probably a little further east than Spencer and I would prefer going. I do think it helps us. I mean, we are, correct me if I'm wrong, we are the first game of that first week. Understanding there's a 0 week, but we are the first game on that first weekend, and on ESPN, and having it on a Thursday that allows us to get out there a little earlier and then get back home in preparation for the following week. I think it's a great opportunity for us. I know South Florida is a team that I watch from afar. I know they're building a new football stadium and they're investing like we are. And, they're always in that group when you think of, who are the best, group of 6. And obviously we think of ourselves as a Power 4. And I think the data, proves that in many ways. But South Florida is always in that group. And so it's a game that I'm really looking forward to. I really appreciate their administration. Their AD just left to Navy. And so I know he had family there, and I believe his dad went there, but have some good relationships there, and really excited to make that trip. And I know our guys are excited, and it's going to be hot. Yeah. But it is what it is. It's football at the end of the day. And I know Spencer and these guys are going to be prepared, and they're grinding right now. And I'm really excited about that first game.
And I believe that's the 4th NFL stadium in the last 2+ seasons that your players will get to play in as well. You obviously had the back-to-back 2 years ago with Allegiant Stadium, and then the LA Bowl at the Rams Stadium. And then you guys got to play obviously in the Phoenix Stadium and the Arizona Cardinals, last year. So this will be Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They share the stadium with Raymond James Stadium with them. So that's kind of cool too. I know it won't be packed or anything, but another NFL stadium for the kids to play in. And I don't know if we've ever asked this, but who picked up the phone and called who first for the Notre Dame game? Did they reach out to you guys, or was that something that you guys reached out to them?
No. So long story short, and I think we've talked about this before, we have, what I guess I would define as a consultant. He deals with every department, every athletic department in the country, and a lot of the FCS, if not all. I've known him for the better part of my career, and it's someone I very much utilize. And it starts, I go to him and say, look, I need a game in 28, and again, a home game in 28, an away game in 29. I need a home and home with a group of 6. I need a Power 4. The FCS are a little bit easier, but he does an unbelievable job. And him and I had talked about Notre Dame before. really what I was looking at was how do we get involved, which I haven't told Spencer yet, and so I would never do anything without, going to Spencer, but how do we get involved in one of those games in like Ireland or, and Notre Dame traditionally is the one playing it. And then I'm also looking at maybe some neutral site opportunities. And, I throw a lot of ideas out there. I think you know me well enough. I'm an idea guy, and I believe in our brand. We have a national brand, and I believe it has value. And so Notre Dame was always one of those games that had been talked about, but their scheduling is not easy. And so it just happened that, something came off their schedule, and I had an opening, and I talked to this guy, and he's, he said, do you know Palace, former Notre Dame quarterback? I did because he worked at Akron when I was there, and he said, give him a call. Like, they may have an opportunity. And so he's the one who got us connected, and then the relationship. But I won't even put too much into the relationship piece. At the end of the day, Notre Dame's been awesome to work with, and they, have a national brand, obviously a very historic brand. And I believe in us and our brand. And I think it's going to be really cool for not just Bronco Nation, but for all fans.
And I know you guys aren't doing it, but a lot of the fans and even myself going to apply for a media credential. I know the schedule worked out pretty nicely. You've got the Notre Dame game on a Saturday afternoon, and then a less than a 2-hour drive away the next day on Sunday. Ashton Genty and the Raiders will be playing the Indianapolis Colts, so that you could make a whole weekend out of it. And then now you could also scout out where, because you got the basketball team going to play Butler as well in Indianapolis. So you guys are going to quickly get some fans there in the Indianapolis, Indiana area.
Oh yeah. And how awesome, I'm glad you brought up basketball, BJ. Really proud of, that was part of our plan, plan the work the plan. And, when I first got here and talking to Leon and Burns and Moats and just in general, that staff and Cody, how do we continue to elevate, and we're bar raisers, and they have done a tremendous amount of work on their schedule. You saw last year, getting into some of these tournaments and that tournament last year, I think some guys, if I remember correctly, some Power 4 teams had dropped off.
Yep.
That were supposed to be involved in that. So like there is an effort there, and it starts with effort and the willingness to go and play teams. And you saw it with Clemson, and you're seeing it with Butler. And it's good for us here. It's good for Bronco Nation. It's good for our brand, and it's good for our identity. We are not just a football school, and the 18 sport programs we have, they all matter to me, and I'm seeing it across the board. Going to do a home and home with the Butler, or obviously football has Notre Dame, but then you see like men's tennis playing Georgia, and soccer playing more regional, but BYU and Utah and some of Washington and some of these teams. That's a big part of our, tell our story, and we got to go out to be the best. We got to, beat the best. And that's going to continue. And I look at basketball, and someone put it out. I think it was our buddy Jordan put it out on social last night. You think about that 26 season and having Butler, but then also having the Zags and San Diego State, and that is part of the Pac-12 and in what I see value in, and how we monetize and think differently of our operations, and how that's going to lead to us hopefully doing more in extra mile and premium space, and really monetizing, because this revenue share is a real deal. And at the end of the day, it's more of an expense, and we have more work to do. And my job is to create the assets so we can go out and sell them. And the coach's job is to compete for championships. And I think everyone has really embraced that.
Well, in my 13 years here covering the team, you wouldn't have the Clemsons of the world, the Wichita States of the world, the Butlers of the world wanting to do home and homes and coming all the way out to Boise, Idaho. So it just kind of shows you they've now gotten to the point where it's not a quote unquote bad loss to come to Boise and lose to Boise State. And so I think you're going to continue to hopefully see more of that. And you haven't even mentioned the Maui Invitational, which is a huge deal in Texas and US.
100%.
And that's going to be massive as well. But
and you're right, BJ, when you think about what Leon and them have done, I think in the past, it's not that people didn't think we were a good team. It's that, like you said, that maybe it was a bad loss if they did lose, but now we've elevated to a place.
Not even that it was a bad loss. People just thought it would be, or they didn't get
correct.
To it, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. And now, they know, all right, it's a great win, and it's a good loss if if we happen to lose, just because of, our strength of schedule and what Leon and those guys have done. And the Maui, like you said, that's going to be amazing. And I'm trying to figure out, I know we have 2 football games that week. And so, I'm trying to figure out
from, there's a red eye after the Wednesday night game. You can get back Thursday morning by like 10 a.m. to Boise and have your Thanksgiving meal.
Are you on that plane? I don't know if I could sit next to you for 5. How long is that?
I don't know.
5 hours?
I'm not sure how at 2 a.m. how much the drink service is coming by either. So I'll have to see. But no, I actually think I might just go straight to Salt Lake City and go straight.
Oh, really? Oh, no. I guess because I wouldn't make it back before the team left.
We
would leave on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
I may just fly to Salt Lake City, but yeah, looking forward to that. By the way, Javen Buchanan's dad, an avid viewer of the show, is watching, and he lives in Indiana, and he said, thank you for the Butler game, only an hour from home. So I know the Buchanan family is looking forward to getting to go to that one.
Yeah, and I appreciate him tuning in, and what a great kid. Saw him yesterday working out. He's killing it and really excited about this season for him. And, that's something that, I'm glad he chimed in, because I know that's something we did it with Washington State and Tyson, and trying to get to where some of our guys are from and at least closer to home. That family piece is important. And that is something that Leon and our staff thinks about. And so that very much tied into the decision and the process with Butler. And it's important to us. So I'm excited.
I remember Roy Williams used to do that at UNC and Kansas, but he'd say, like, if you committed, he would guarantee you at least one game back in your hometown. And so he was playing some small, weird schools sometimes because he promised them a game close to home or whatever to make it happen. But cool. All right, so I waited 12 minutes before I brought up any of the topics that I know everybody wants to know the answer to. And I know there's not a lot you can say, but I'm just going to read them anyway, and you can take them whichever direction you can.
Sure.
Say. BSU Bill saying, sell us on why Texas State, quote, hypothetically would be a good addition for the Pac. What advantages does being in Texas do for the conference? I don't know if you can get specific or not, but it does seem like there's some rumors and reports out there that they've been identified at least as I think I said heavy favorite was the word that Pete Thamel used.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics, and I've been pretty consistent, other than speaking that, specific to us here and where we recruit, that Texas in general and the market is important to us. And that ties into our brand. It ties into the media markets there. It ties into recruiting and retention in some ways, because our teams, and not just football, but a lot of our teams are very much recruiting Texas. And we've had basketball, we've had tennis, soccer. I mean, so it is in a state that Spencer, specifically from a football standpoint, does hit, and many of our other coaches. And so, that I probably view things differently, BJ, and how we're going to, tell our story and monetize our operations. And I see a lot of ancillary benefits, in general, going to the Pac-12. And I'm really excited about the progress that we've made. And obviously we're not going to an established conference. We are building this conference, and that ties into a lot of other things. And so there is a method to the madness, and in due time, more information will be released, and really appreciate all the ADs and the conference office and the leadership and what everyone is doing. It's uncomfortable to a certain extent because, I've never built a conference out. I don't think any AD has that's currently represented, but it leads to really cool conversations, and it's a great experience. And I'm learning so much through the process, and I'm still bullish on what it's going to represent. We talked about the basketball, and can you imagine our schedule and having these relevant games in football and being aligned with like institutions that want to invest. And it isn't who we are today, and this includes Boise State. It's who do we want to be tomorrow? And when we look at our industry changing, to be able to lock arms with people that want to elevate, who are bar raisers, who are investing and have a greater purpose and a greater level of competition and expectation, you can do a lot with that. And that's what excites me about what's next.
So how do you, I'll try to keep this as general as possible, I guess, but just, all these other media rights, the bigger conferences and stuff are coming up in 2030, 2031, 2032. How are you, I guess, looking at this when you're looking at teams or whatever else? I mean, is this a 5-year decision? Is this something that you're expecting is going to be a 20-year decision? Like, I know the deal's only for however many years it is, but how are you kind of looking? Because some teams say, okay, there's some rumored schools out there that would be more of a long-term investment, I guess. Oh, they've got money, they've got this, they're up and coming, but maybe it might take them a few years to get on your level versus another school out there that's much closer right now to compete on your level, but maybe they don't even want to come, so it's not a discussion. I don't know. But just how are you looking at in this group, looking at these other alternatives and teams, I guess, when you also have to factor in like what they're able to do in 2026 versus 2030, and then if it's all going to get blown up again in 2032 anyway or whatever?
Yeah, in general, and how you started the question, what does the next 5 years look like? What I can guarantee you is change is inevitable. And my job as the athletic director and leader here, is to best prepare us for what's next. And in many ways, I'm not sure there's an AD that can 100% define what it's going to be in 2030, but what are the what ifs? And I'm with my team, I shouldn't say but our team, we spend a lot of time, energy, and effort on looking at plan A through Z and, and creating different options that allows us to pivot and take advantage of the momentum and the opportunity when it hits. Higher education in general and college athletics, it's very bureaucratic and we have a lot of groupthink and we don't make quick decisions. And that's been a point of pride maybe for me since I've been here. It's ready, aim, fire, and through success and failure, because not every decision I make or we make is going to find success. It allows us to pivot quickly and identify the next opportunity. And movement creates opportunity, right? And I firmly believe that. And so when I look at the next 5 years, it's to be the best where our feet are. It's to be the best right now in the Mountain West, and then it's to be the best in the Pac-12. And to compete at a high level. But then as we're doing that, how am I creating more assets? How am I telling our story? How am I connecting nationally? How are we still driving this overall brand and positioning ourselves for what the industry may or may not do, right? We've heard a lot about the SEC and Big Ten breaking away. We've heard a lot about football, FBS in general, breaking away from the NCAA. CFP obviously has a lot of power. There's conferences in terms of like the Power Four, that we call it, and then the Group of Six. Well, what determines whether you're in that? Obviously, a lot of people were grandfathered in. What are the parameters around that? What opportunities may come from that and those conversations? I just want defined we have defined expectations. I want a defined path forward, and if there is a way to get into, say, the Power Four, and I think every AD in the Pac-12 would say this, that's ultimately the goal, because that's the highest level of competition. And we've proven it over 20 plus years, if not longer, that we can compete at the highest level. And I owe it to our team. I owe it to our student athletes, our staff, Bronco Nation, our institution, our community, to do everything I possibly can to continue to elevate. And so we're not a finished product. This is one of many steps. And our goal is to plan A through Z of what it potentially would look like, that when those opportunities come, that we are hard pivoting and we're going. And I look at, what TCU did. I look at Houston to a certain extent, maybe Cincinnati, UCF, nothing stays the same. And so they had to invest, they had to prepare for that moment, that when the Big 12 called, that they could pivot into that. And so I'm looking at what's happened in the past. You can learn a lot from that. I'm not saying we're doing exactly what they were doing, but I do think it gives us an overall template to really figure out what the future looks like for us. I can live with failure, BJ. I can live with we get to 2030 and whatever, and ultimately it may cost me my job, I guess, and that's okay. Like, I can live with that. I can't live without trying and putting our best foot forward, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And those are the things that I can control and the story that I'm going to continue to tell.
So obviously a lot of people in here are wanting to know the timeline. Everybody needs to know right now, when's this coming out? What's happening here? And we have reached that time, I guess, where I'm having to check Twitter every 5 minutes, even at my kids' baseball practice, to make sure I'm not missing something here. I mean, it could happen, I guess, at any point. But the general thought, JD, has been July 1st, just because if you are going to add a team that might lower their buyout if they tell that conference before July 1st, I mean, is that still – I know you're not trying to get specific here or say something that's not whatever, but, I mean, is it still generally the thought that that'd be some news coming before July 1st on some of this?
It's hard to say, BJ. At this point, we've been very specific with our plan and our strategy, and not everyone has to agree with it. I get it, and I understand. Bronco Nation. Hopefully, they're all listening. I understand. It just shows me like it honestly doesn't even, and you didn't say this, but I know people have come to me like, oh, it must be frustrating. Like, I'm not frustrated. Honestly, it's a point of pride once again that I have a fan base that cares and that is believing and backing us, and they're interested to the point that it's impacting their summer. I live it every day, so I'm always thinking about what's next, and this is a 24/7 job, and so it's going to happen in due time at the appropriate time. And there's a strategy and a plan and a process, and all those things are important to me. And I said it earlier, Teresa and the collective Pac-12 team and everyone who's a part of this, and there are a lot of people who are a part of it. They are working, tirelessly to move this thing forward appropriately, and we're not on anyone else's timeline. What we're doing very much aligns with who I am. We are going to define our own expectations. And ultimately, I'm going to be held accountable regardless, and I'm fine with that. These decisions aren't easy. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. There are a lot of moving pieces to it, and I can assure you, it's not being worked on. There is constant work, and that's been the case since the day we committed to this process. And I'm really excited, to take those next steps forward.
We got about 5 minutes left with Boise State Athletic Director Jeramiah Dickey here. We got 772 of you streamed in across our various platforms. We appreciate all of you that are coming in with questions, and we're trying to get to as many as we can here. The college football playoff came out recently and said they're going to kind of restart over with their seeding, I guess, or how they're going to do this. They want to get back to the drawing board on the options out there. I know you had talked about the Boise State rule or whatever in terms of the buys, but for 2026 and beyond, what would you like to see as an athletic director at Boise State for the and the Pac-12? I guess I don't know if you guys have had any stance in this or voted or how that's gone, but what model moving forward here would you like to see for the college football playoff?
Yeah, Teresa has, as a representative of the Pac-12, and she tries her best to keep us updated as much as possible. I know they had meetings this week, and in general, BJ, and this is, I try to simplify things. I want, more than one seat at the table. I do believe competition is important. There's 136 now FBS schools, and I'm still bullish that there is a model out there that makes sense, and doesn't just make sense for the power two and then the other two and then us. And, but the fact that we have a seat at the table, and we proved it last year that we could get there, and that was part of our plan and process, that gives me a lot of hope and faith in the future. Belief is a powerful thing. And when you can show a path, for a fan base like ours and a department, and one that's investing and it's never finished and it's always what's next, that creates so many more opportunities. And I think that's good for fans. And I've been pretty vocal. I don't want the fans to get lost in this. The fans are important to us. And I do think that, a model that truly represents what college football is, versus this grandfathered model and not really having defined, what it means to be a Power Four, and no one can really tell us other than they just are Power Four. I think that we're doing our fans and our student athletes and our communities a disservice. And so I want what's best for Boise State. I want us to have a path forward. And based on what I'm hearing, we continue to have that seat. And I think that's an important seat. That's progress from what we had before, which was nothing, Cincinnati made it. It took 3 straight years of elite football for them to even get a sniff at it. Mm-hmm. I do believe that we're a value, and understanding we do a lot more with a lot less than some. But that ties into the overall strategy. We need to find more. We need to continue to invest and control what we can control. That means 6 games, 6 sellouts. That means selling out basketball. That means, continue to invest in our facilities, creating new assets, and trying to drive that revenue back to the department so we can create a sustainable model and compete at a high level. And
just don't go. You don't need the 4 auto bids per conference. Whatever the number is, 12, 16, it needs to just be the the one spot for the 5 conferences, and then just the rest are auto bids. We don't need to, or at larges. We don't need to be having 2, 4. I mean, I would assume someone, whether you want to say it publicly or not, I would assume someone in your position wants as many at large bids as possible, as long as the group of 5, group of 6 guaranteed spot is still there. But I know we're short on time. I wanted to ask 2 ticket questions for you. One, the concert coming up next week, Jelly Roll and Post Malone. That's a big undertaking, obviously, for the department, for Nathan Burke and a lot of your staff. I don't know if it's already started, the official rolling and stuff. I did see you guys threw a lot of floor seats back available on sale. So maybe people that thought this was sold out, it's not sold out. There are tickets available. But just in general, your thoughts on this concert and what it means to have, you look at the stadiums that these guys are playing in right before and right after. It's some 80,000 seat NFL stadiums. And I know it's a Tuesday night. They're stopping off, in the middle of the week. I get it. But it was still a pretty big get to get this concert. I know you guys have other concerts on your wish list as well, but concert on the Blue coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Nate and our team. They're killing it. That was part of our plan, many years ago now, of how do we monetize our facilities differently, and knowing that house settlement and revenue share and all these things were coming. And these concerts are of value to us. And if I leave Bronco Nation with anything, is it matters. Just like buying tickets to our games, buying tickets to these concerts, that allows us, to share that much more and to create more of a sustainable model as we look to the future of this department. And tickets are going well. The sales are going well. I don't, that a lot of that goes through the promoter and Post and Jelly and their team. But I do believe they're going well. I have not checked in terms of how many tickets are currently available, but I know we're over 30,000 plus. And just like we did with Luke and Garth before, it's huge for our community. We are an economic driver. We are the front porch. We impact this community in more ways than one, and we are the identity of this community. And so bringing in outside opportunities, and I just saw Steelheads doing the same thing. How cool is that? That's awesome for the Treasure Valley. And these are opportunities. The more people show up, the more opportunities we're going to get. And they've already started unloading. I mean, I think Matt Sterling was keeping track of the trucks. I think 8 trucks have showed up so far, semis. It's a massive undertaking and much bigger than I think the setup of Luke and Garth. And so really proud of our team. And it is, there are other duties as assigned, but it gives us an opportunity to continue to tell our story and align with that national brand that we are. And I'm excited for Tuesday. Unfortunately, I will not be at the concert. My wife will be and some friends, but I will be traveling for work. But I know Nate and those guys, they've been doing a tremendous job. And this has been going on for the last 9+ months, I guess, if not longer, in terms of preparing for next Tuesday.
I like how you're on a first name basis with all those guys too. Just Luke and Garth, and you're just Post. I like that.
Yeah.
You did announce, final question for you, 17,491 was the season ticket update you gave yesterday. I know you mentioned that. Robbie is asking if there's a number that changes due to the north end zone stuff going on. I know your goal, I think you believe was 23,000, 20,000. I know you have different numbers, goals, but are you happy where you're at? 17,491.
Yeah, absolutely. We're well ahead. We've already surpassed our revenue goal from last year. And so we're on our way. Our ticketing staff and BA team, I mean, they're killing it. We're averaging about 200 new tickets a week, and we have more work to do. We got to that number last year, as we head into the season. I think it helps us a little bit that we're on the road to start the season, gives us a few more weeks, and we understand, for us, the summer, it's not the summer, it's just work and we have stuff to do. I know for Bronco Nation and many of our fans, they're traveling and vacation with their families and whatever. And so into July and August is going to be a huge month. So to see where we're at today and knowing that our big sales cycle is going to hit at the end of July, early August, I'm really proud. And I do think that 23,000 is achievable. The 6 game, 6 sellouts is achievable. We've done it. And yeah, the north end zone impacted us, but I overall, I think we had a 90% renewal rate on tickets. That's the highest it's been in a very long time, maybe since Kellen. And then we also had a 90% renewal rate of those in the north end zone that we had to move to other areas of the stadium. That still weighs heavily on me, BJ. I love Bronco Nation and that blue collar, that we represent. And, I probably align more with those people in the north and south end zones than I do with those in the suites. And so it is important to me. It does weigh heavily on me, but we're doing our best to try to find everyone a seat and a price point that they can afford. And we still want it to be family friendly. And we still want, Bronco Nation to be able to show up and support their Broncos. So we're going to continue to chop wood. And I firmly believe we are going to sell out every game again. And that is the expectation. And we're bar raisers, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Well, we appreciate you for jumping on monthly as you do. Safe travels next week with wherever you are off to for work. And we appreciate you as always for jumping on BNN and speaking directly to the now 838 folks that were tuning in to hear what you had to say. So I was going to ask you about Jay Tust in the Bronco studios, but I'm past your time.
You can ask. I'm good as long as you have time, man.
First of all, don't put us out of business here at BNN, hiring Jay and getting this Bronco Studios off and rolling. But that does seem like a cool concept, and congratulations to you guys and Jay. But what is the bigger vision with Bronco Studios?
Yeah, I think a lot of it ties into Pac-12 Enterprises, and this is something that Cody and our team we've talked about since I arrived. Obviously, and it ties into who we are. We're big on telling our story. We need to monetize our operations differently, and we need to professionalize. And when you look at adding someone like Jay and his name in this community and brand, and then how it can help us, tell the stories of our student athletes and staff, and that ties into our culture. It takes a team, and it tied into everything is part of our strategy. It ties into the blue and orange store, and we need to continue to elevate. And I'm not one for status quo. I'm not going to sit back, and I'm really excited about what Bronco Studios and Coots, and our team are building out in that space to help us be a leader in our industry, whether it's podcasts or video or just the professionalism of our events, and what Jay ultimately brings to the table, and that team that we're going to build around him to help create more assets. And we have a great partnership with Learfield BSP, and it's everything counts, everything matters. And that was a space, it really came, BJ, from a little bit of my time at Baylor with Sikkim and David Smoke. And I think you've talked to him before, and I think highly of him, and seeing the model that they built out. And then when Cody and I went to Memphis, a game probably we'd all like to forget, but when we were at Memphis, we went to see the Memphis Grizzlies, and seeing how they built it out, and how they connected with their community, and a similar type studio, and some other things that will be announced, within the next couple of weeks, that ties into this overall strategy. We came back, and it was after that Memphis game, Cody and I talked and said, all right, let's do this. This was prior to Coots getting here. And then when Coots got here, it's like, all right, how do we set this up that it benefits us, and helps our programs and our student athletes and their brands, and, with name, image, and likeness and revenue share. It just made too much sense. And to get a guy like Jay, just very grateful for his trust and belief in us, and excited to welcome him to the team. I consider you guys on the team regardless, just because, those in the community helping us tell our story, it matters. But this really allows us to hone in on an area as this industry is changing. You're seeing more AI and not a lot of press releases. Everything's more graphic and video and drones. And we want to stay ahead of that curve and continue to deliver a product to Bronco Nation that is of value that we can monetize.
Well, appreciate you, as I said, for jumping on, and that's going to be really cool to see where you guys take that. And Jay's the perfect guy to we just think he's ducking us for the media pro day now that he's on although I was told by Chris, you guys on his contract, he is still required to do the bench press on a live stream on pro day. So
other duties as assigned, BJ.
Yeah.
That most of our duties fall into that category. So yeah, Jay most likely will be out there unless he has a baby.
He is getting close to that. Yep.
He is getting close. So father first.
Yes.
But
well,
I appreciate it, BJ. I appreciate Bronco Nation, everyone who's tuned in, and how you help us tell our story, man. And, Bronco Nation, get your friends, get your family. Let's sell out Albertsons this year. 6 games, 6 sellouts, and I love you. And go Broncos.
Appreciate it, Jeremiah. I think if we do this a month from now, maybe we'll have some actual answers to some stuff we can talk to you about a month from now. By this
I
point.
think BJ, when we're scheduled next, I think we're going to be in Vegas for media days.
Okay, perfect.
So I usually do that with you anyways, and I would assume we'll have a lot to talk about.
We'll see you at the Berries. Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, BJ.
Appreciate it, Jeremiah. Jeramiah Dickey, athletic director at Boise State. Not a lot of athletic directors would do that and give 35 minutes of his time here to chat and talk once a month with directly with Bronco Nation. So I know some of you guys want more direct answers to some of that stuff. He can't give it to you. It is what it is. There hasn't been a lot that has leaked out on this for a number of reasons, and I know some of you would like him to not beat around the bush and talk more about specifics and teams and money and all that, but he's doing what he's instructed to do and probably what is smart of him to do. And so, you know what? I get it. BSU Bill can't wait for it to come out so he can actually talk about stuff. Yeah. And there'll be plenty more to talk about, but and I know there's folks, you're not asking him the tough questions or whatever. Like, he's not, it's not happening, folks. You could tell we tried to ask about Texas State, didn't want to talk specifics. Like, we'll throw it out there, but it is what it is. And you have to understand the position that he's in, where he is trying to, not say the wrong thing or announce something before it's done. I mean, if it were done and contracts were signed, it would be public already. So it is what it is. He's doing the best he can to kind of do that. But for him to give up, while sitting on hold there 40 minutes of his time, we truly appreciate Jeremiah for doing that and for giving us his time here on Bronco Nation News and for letting you guys directly. And we would have asked, I tried to get to as many questions as I could. So if you didn't think we asked a question or you had a better question, you could have put it in the chat there and I would have tried to get it to him. So always appreciate him. And thanks to Chris for jumping on as well. And yeah, maybe next time we will have some more concrete details. And so, but there's not a lot of athletic directors around the country that come take questions on a YouTube chat for 40 minutes. So appreciate him for jumping on and doing that. And I know he goes on KTIK as well and does some other media stuff. So appreciate him. And looking forward to media days. Less than a month away. We'll be down at Mountain West Media Days. And that's going to be the final version of Mountain West Media Days for the Boise State and for us before we join the Pac-12 Media Days the following year. So appreciate all you guys for jumping on. Thank you so much for watching. We do this every weekday morning. We will have the aforementioned Jay Tust on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then we'll get back to next week's schedule next week as well. So appreciate all you for jumping on. Please support the sponsors. Many of our major sponsors you see on the wall behind me. Support all of our sponsors, including our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. All your painting needs, make sure you hit up our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. And it's, of course, a Jackson's Thursday, as we told you about. Get those Roaring Springs tickets. You get $8 off when you go to Jackson's and purchase 2 Coca-Cola products. So go to Jackson's, get your Coca-Cola products, get your $8 coupon for Roaring Springs, and you can use that up to 4 times to save $32. And I get it. There were some questions. I mean, we get 3 or 4 questions every week about baseball, about playing Idaho. I mean, about wrestling. There's the same kind of questions. And unfortunately, guys, it just doesn't do any good right now to really ask him about that. Maybe down the line we can bring it back up. But his answer's kind of been consistent. Never say never. We'll see what happens. But honestly, I don't think I know folks don't want to hear it, but there's, baseball in the Mountain West Pac-12 level is not really a sport you make money on. And so right now when they're trying to do everything they can to watch the budget and pay athletes and all this stuff, investing, multiple $1 million in a program that might not even break even just doesn't make a lot of sense right now. So Jeremiah has said he wished he got here 9 months earlier because he would have probably kept the team. I mean, I think he said that if he had gotten here 9 months earlier, things might have been different. But all the time and effort and money that it takes to bring that program back, given their financial situation right now, I just don't see that happening anytime soon. So not trying to be mean, disrespectful to the baseball lovers. I would love to see baseball come back. But I just don't think that makes a lot of sense right now. And we get 3 questions about it every chat. And unfortunately, the answer is probably going to be the same for a while. They'd have to get some big donor that would just come in and fund the program for 5 years with a, $30 million donation or something that just goes straight to bringing back baseball. I think that's really the only way at this point something like that would happen. It just doesn't make sense financially when they need every penny they have to pour millions of dollars into a baseball program or a wrestling program that probably is not making money. Unfortunately, I hate to say it. If it were still here, they probably would have kept it. But once it went away, I just don't see a path anytime soon for it to come back at this point, unfortunately. So, again, appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Thank you to Jeremiah and for Chris Kutz for helping make it happen. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. You can go read Nathan Carroll's articles at BroncoNationNews.com. And we'll be back at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Obviously, if there is some news breaking, realignment, Pac-12, whatever else, we'll jump back on with a breaking news show if we need to. Otherwise, 9 a.m. tomorrow, we'll do this again on Bronco Nation News. So have a great rest of your day. It looks like a beautiful day outside, so go enjoy it. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bronco Nation News live here at BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.